Long ago, in a land that seemed to exist outside of ordinary time, there was a lake so vast and still that it mirrored the sky above it with a clarity unlike any other. Travelers who found their way to this hidden place often said it was less a lake and more a living dream, stretching endlessly across the horizon until water and air blended into one seamless canvas. The lake carried with it a silence so deep that even the softest ripple of water felt like a sacred note in a song too delicate for words. Around its edges grew willows with silver-green leaves that swayed gently, releasing whispers in the breeze, as if the trees themselves remembered secrets long forgotten. On certain evenings, when the moon rose in full majesty, its reflection upon the water was so luminous that those who gazed upon it felt as though they were staring into the heart of another world. Yet what made the lake truly extraordinary was not its beauty alone, but the way it seemed to cradle those who came near, inviting them to lay aside their burdens, their regrets, and their restless thoughts. Many arrived weary and sleepless, carrying the weight of journeys or sorrows, but before long, the rhythm of the lake's quietude began to match the rhythm of their own breath. Soon they discovered, with a kind of astonishment, that time itself seemed to slow, each moment stretching and softening, as though night itself had unfolded a blanket of comfort around them. And so the legend grew that anyone who spent a night by the timeless lake would find dreams unlike any they had known before, dreams gentle enough to carry them into the deepest and most restful of sleeps. On the northern shore of this lake lived a wanderer named Elian, whose life had been one of endless roads and uncertain tomorrows. He had traveled through valleys of gold and mountains that touched the clouds, but never once had he found a place that quieted his spirit. The world outside was loud with its demands, filled with voices that pulled him in many directions, and though he had gained knowledge and treasures, his heart often felt hollow, restless, unable to root itself in peace. One autumn evening, with leaves drifting like glowing embers across the wind, Elian stumbled upon the path that led to the lake. He did not know it then, but this was no accident. The lake had always drawn to itself those who most needed rest, calling them gently, like a lullaby woven into the fabric of the earth. Elian approached slowly, his footsteps softening on the moss that carpeted the shore, and when he first saw the lake's surface gleaming beneath the dusk, his breath caught in awe. He felt a strange stillness rise inside him, not forced, not taught, but as if it had always been waiting there, beneath the noise of his restless mind. That night, he built a small fire by the shore, its flames flickering like tiny stars beside the greater canvas of the heavens. He sat watching the reflection of both fire and starlight ripple upon the water, and he realized he had never truly seen such harmony. As the air cooled and the night deepened, Elian lay down upon the earth and closed his eyes, lulled by the soft song of crickets and the steady rhythm of water against stone. For the first time in many years, he felt sleep rising to claim him not as an intruder, but as a friend. When Elian dreamed, his dreams were unlike those that had troubled him on restless nights before. Instead of chaos, there was a slow unfolding of imagery that soothed rather than startled. He found himself walking across meadows bathed in silver light, where flowers glowed faintly as if carrying the memory of stars. In the distance, a gentle river wound its way through the land, humming with a melody that felt older than time itself. The dream carried him without urgency, each step light and easy, as though the ground itself wished to comfort him. He saw figures in the distance, gentle beings woven of mist and moonlight, who smiled without words and beckoned him closer, yet he felt no fear. Their presence was calm, like the presence of the lake itself, and though they never spoke, he understood them perfectly. They were guardians of rest, keepers of silence, dwellers in the boundary between waking and dreaming. They led him to a great willow tree whose branches swept the earth like curtains, creating a chamber of green where the air was thick with peace. There he lay down once more, within the dream, and felt layers of tension dissolve from his body, one by one, as though he were shedding heavy garments he had carried for years. In that place, time no longer pressed upon him, and his heart finally understood what it meant to be still. Meanwhile, the lake outside his dream reflected the same serenity. The fire by the shore had dimmed into glowing embers, but above him the stars kept their steady vigil. A soft mist began to rise from the water, curling like delicate ribbons across the air, weaving dream and reality into one seamless whole. The animals of the night moved gently in the underbrush, an owl gliding silently from one tree to another, foxes padding softly along their hidden paths. Even the wind seemed to soften, carrying not a chill but a blanket of comfort across Elian's resting form. The lake breathed in slow rhythm, each ripple spreading outward like the steady heartbeat of the earth itself. Anyone who might have seen him there would not have known where man ended and world began, for his sleep was so deep, so harmonious, that he appeared as much a part of the landscape as the stones and trees around him. His chest rose and fell in perfect rhythm with the lake's gentle pulse, and for the first time in years, Elian slept without stirring, without dream turning to nightmare, without fear of waking in disquiet. The lake held him in its timeless embrace, whispering lullabies older than language, promising him rest beyond measure. When morning came, the world was softened in golden mist, the first rays of sunlight shimmering across the lake's surface like strands of woven gold. Elian stirred, though he did not rise immediately, for his body felt lighter, as though the weight of years had been gently lifted during the night. He opened his eyes slowly, greeted not by the harshness of day, but by a dawn that seemed tender, kind, as if the world itself had resolved to welcome him gently back into wakefulness. The air was crisp with the scent of pine and earth, and the sound of birdsong filled the silence in a way that felt like a hymn to renewal. Elian sat quietly, his heart calmer than he had ever known it, and gazed across the lake that shimmered like liquid light. He realized that though he had wandered far and wide, the journey had not been in vain, for it had brought him to this place, this sanctuary of timeless rest. Gratitude rose within him like the warmth of the sun, and he bowed his head in silent thanks, to the lake, to the guardians of his dream, and perhaps to fate itself. Yet the lake was not meant for Elian alone. It remained as it always had, waiting for others who might stumble upon its shores, weary from the ceaseless demands of life. Many would pass it by, never noticing, for the lake revealed itself only to those who truly needed it. But to the rare few who found it, the gift was always the same: peace, renewal, and dreams that mended the weary soul. Elian chose not to leave entirely, though his feet were made for wandering. Instead, he returned again and again, each time discovering that the lake's silence deepened the more one listened, its mystery expanding rather than shrinking with familiarity. And when he met fellow travelers along his journeys, those with tired eyes and heavy hearts, he would tell them gently of a place beyond the map, a lake where the night itself would sing them to sleep. Some believed him, some did not, but those who followed his words and found the shore carried back stories of their own, always the same at heart: that the lake gave them dreams deep enough to carry home with them, dreams that returned each time they closed their eyes, long after they had left its waters behind. And so the legend of the timeless lake endured, spreading quietly across lands and generations, not as a tale of conquest or riches, but as a story of peace. It became a whispered blessing among weary souls. May the lake find you. And though no map could point the way, and no guide could lead another there, those who truly needed it always seemed to arrive in their own time. Perhaps that was the lake's greatest secret, that it dwelled not only in one hidden valley, but in the hearts of all who sought stillness, waiting to be remembered. For every person carries within them a quiet shore, a place where the waters of rest lap gently at the edges of their spirit. All that is needed is to close the eyes, to breathe slowly, and to let go of the burdens that weigh so heavily. Then, like Elian, one might find themselves drifting into the embrace of the timeless lake, where night is endless, peace is boundless, and sleep comes not as a stranger, but as a long-awaited friend.